When I was little, I didn't see so many stray dogs. Now, every junction we go, we can see dogs.
The Sri Lankan street dog is a part of the life in Sri Lanka and in the communities. There is this perception that, they're useless and they're unwanted.
We like, as Westerners, to come to a place and almost place our ideals on a situation. Like at home, this dog wouldn't be in this situation, or at home we wouldn't do this. Yes, street dogs need veterinary care, and that's what we're here for. But the reality of the situation here is totally different to what I had expected when I first arrived.
As long as they're cared for, they're fed, and actually they're far more happier because they're free and they can do their own thing.
Life for an own dog in Sri Lanka, it's one of the biggest welfare issues I've seen in my career. We see probably once or twice a month chains embedded in dogs' necks.
They've just been bred and overbred. That dog gives you as much puppies as possible, and then you get rid of her when she's no longer useful.
For me, the issue is not street dogs. The issue is the way owned dogs are treated here.
From my childhood, I have seen so many street dogs. I feed street dogs around here. When I go out, I have some biscuit or rice in my car, and I know they are waiting for me. Hello, Bonnie, come on. Sometimes I bring puppies, and I grow them up to a certain age and find homes. I have permanent 5 dogs. They're all street dogs. When I was little, nobody told me this is a street dogs. We have to treat them nicely. People's behavior towards them is, I think it's depending on their attitude and education. Sri Lankan people have a lot of superstitious thinking. Several people told me they don't want to sterilize their dogs or cat because that thing affects their children. They will not have babies. I think people have to change their attitude.
Street dogs have been around Sri Lanka for centuries. I think if you look at the history, there is the story of how the street dog led the king to meet the queen, so many hundreds of years ago. So I started a fashion business 30 years ago, and from basically from the boot of my car to being Sri Lanka's most well-known department store, and have a very big social media following. And I thought, what is the one thing maybe that I could help and make a big difference on? So I thought if I could make them fashionable, more people would see how amazing they are. The first dog I adopted was Nico, and Nico became the mascot and the logo of the brand. So it also brought a lot of change for many people who actually had probably seen that and they couldn't communicate it, they couldn't talk about it, because often those who even showed the compassion or showed the kindness towards these dogs, they were considered like crazy. I think I was able to change that perception a fair bit as well, where it was okay, it's okay to love, it's okay to care, it's okay to make a difference in the life of a street dog or any animal, really. So to date we have found homes for close to 5,000 puppies, and and we've helped another about 70,000 over the last 12 years.
So this is a girl, we actually named her Pumpkin. We've seen her before. We saw her about 5 years ago when I first arrived. We neutered her back then and tried to treat her mange, but she is literally the only dog that has never responded to mange treatment. But as you can see, she's She is well fed, she's well treated, she's super happy on the street. She's in exactly the same territory that she was in 5 years ago. So she's just come in today because she's got a tiny little mass that we're going to remove, and we'll pop her straight back into her territory this afternoon. We do not believe in having shelters for street dogs here in Sri Lanka, and the reason I believe that is because I've lived here, I've seen it, I've been involved in it, and I know that these dogs value their freedom more than anything. These dogs are almost a breed in themselves, so they've lived on the streets for generations. They find confined spaces extremely stressful. If the animal is a tiny puppy when they come to us, obviously we keep those and we rehome them locally. We like, as Westerners, to come to a place and almost place our ideals on a situation. Like, at home this dog wouldn't be in this situation, or at home we wouldn't do this.
So I used to work 5-6 years on the beach. So there's the most street dog living there. Most tourists coming, they come like 1 month, even 1 week, 2 weeks. But they saw somewhere puppy or stuff, then they pick and they treat like babies. Then when they leave, they want to give it to someone, but it's already too late because street dog, then they don't know how to survive on the road. We find Lulu. Some tourists come and ask me, oh, I just adopted one puppy from the road, so can you guys keep it? They need to understand because Sri Lankan dogs completely different to their dog. This dog have their own guardians, like let's say when they get hungry, they know this place.
Come on. Hello, girls. Now these I would call them community dogs. You get these housing estates where there is no particular owner, but some of the householders, they feed the animals. Yeah. So by the time I finish here, it's about 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock. And I go back again, start cooking. Evening round, I start around 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30, depending on the weather. And go until 12:30. If sick animals, I take them to the vet. Then I make sure that the animals are sterilized. I get some donations, but every day I am out of money because it's so expensive. When I started, I used to get water thrown on the food and all sorts of things. They used to chase the cats. They used to scold me in absolute filth, saying that I have the NGO, that I get foreign funding. It took them about 10 years for them to realize that there is no foreign NGO here, nor that I am getting any foreign funding. Then they started looking after the animals, you see. It's a matter of changing their social habits.
So veterinary care is a component that is missing for street dogs. There aren't many vets in this country that purely treat street dogs, and you can understand that because they need an income. You don't get an income from street dogs. But it's just that I think the profession is also thought of as a bit of a second-rate job. Most commonly we do see street dogs. We are now seeing a lot of owned dogs as well because the issue isn't quite what it seems.
It's still a very new thing that purebreds even need rescue. So when we say that Tales of Freedom works with purebred dogs, there's that initial 5 minutes of us explaining they're purebred dogs, you find them on the road, because people in their minds, purebred dogs stay loved in a home. I think she longs to get out. So dogs generally shouldn't be bred their first heat. You've got to leave at least 2 heats in between. And this is really an example of how bad it can. I mean, she's been bred her first heat and every single heat for, I'd say, at least 6-7 years. This is not the shape she should be. All of this should be so much higher up. So she had a lot of tumors. She had a lot of mammary tumors. That dog gives you as much puppies as possible, and then you get rid of her when she's no longer useful. The people that mostly get purebreds, it's a status symbol. There's a little bit of a lack of understanding on the side of inbreeding. We still find dogs that the father and the daughter have been the same litter have been bred.
This is Rocky. Rocky came in about a week to 10 days ago. He's an owned dog that had been living on a chain in his owner's garden. The chain had been too tight around his neck, and where he'd been getting quite lively, because he's quite a young dog, it has sort of ripped through his neck. It had happened for maybe several days before he came to us, so by the time he got to us it was infected with maggots, it was really embedded into all of the skin and the tissue.
We see that all the time with owned dogs, like they're mostly on chains or mostly in kennels this big. You know, we see German Shepherds in kennels that are 1 metre squared, and people don't know that's wrong. I mean, in Colombo it's totally different, and we do see exceptions, but from my experience, the vast majority are not treated in an acceptable way. But we have no animal welfare laws here that we can rely on to be able to, say for example, take a dog away from an owner that's being abusive. So for me, street dogs have it way better. The risks are higher for sure. I would rather a dog lived 4 happy years on the street than 15 years tied up in someone's back garden 24 hours a day.
I do see change, and I do see positive change, and I will continue to do as much as I can to speak for them, for street dogs and all animals. There's so many who want to do good, and I just want to give the platform and the opportunity for more of that to come out. So it's a collective change that has to happen.
I think what we need to do is change public perception of the profession. So we go out there and we do education programs with the locals about how important dogs are, and we show them how passionate we are about our jobs. Yes, street dogs need veterinary care, and that's what we're here for, but Sri Lanka is full of animal lovers and people who are super, super intelligent. There's absolutely no reason that those two things can't be coupled to produce amazing vets.